He is a ukulele-playing billionaire, and he's not ashamed to dance among fruits. But for the throngs following Warren Buffett's every move, the annual pilgrimage to Omaha, Nebraska is about hearing the investment guru talk.
Come on in.
The Dow hit its 20th all-time high Friday. This is the longest win streak we've seen for the Dow Industrial since 1927. What do you think about that?
Well, it's interesting about the Dow, though. The Dow in the previous century, went from 66 to 11,400. Now, believe it or not, that's only an annual rate of gain of about 5.4%. 66 to 11,400. To do the same 5.4% in this century, it would have to go to 2 million. So it is not too big a deal when it goes from 13,000 to 14,000 to 15,000. To get 5.4% of gain per year, the Dow will have to end this century at 2 million. So you better get used to announcing new little milestones.
You're feeling good about it. But what about the housing market? You feeling good about that? You've made some big professional bets in housing. Yeah. How severe is it going to be?
Housing is sick, and housing will stay sick for quite a while, in my view, and particularly in certain areas of the country. We have the second largest residential real estate brokerage firm in the country, so I get figures from different markets. And there are certain markets where I'm sure that it'll be sick for at least a couple of years, and other parts of the country will not be that weak. But there were a whole lot of houses built by people, or bought by people, putting very small, maybe non-existent down payments, making very small initial payments on their mortgages, and hoping to flip them in some cases. And there are just a whole lot more houses around than the natural supply at the present time.
Gas prices, on the other hand, going in a different direction. In fact, there are some forecasts they could hit all-time highs. What point do you think it's really going to rein in consumer spending?
Well, I've been surprised that it hasn't. But the American economy is always very resilient. I mean, if you look at that last century, which was a wonderful century, I mean, we had the Great Depression, World War II, nuclear bombs, the Cold War, all these things. But at the end of the century, people were living 7 times as well as at the start of the century. And gasoline here, of course, is still cheap compared to cost around the world. We can overcome an awful lot of things that seem like temporary problems in this country.
What about executive pay? You yourself take a meager salary, and despite all the negative press, all the scandals, the investor revolts, there hasn't been, it seems, any significant change. Why is that?
It's because the CEOs have a good game and they're not about to give it up. I mean, somebody said CEO pay is like the honor system, that the shareholders have the honor and the CEOs have the system. And here is a system where a given individual, a CEO, cares enormously about how much he gets paid, particularly compared to how much other people get paid. And on one side, you have a comp committee that meets a few hours a year, and then you have this ratcheting that occurs because you can look at what everybody else gets paid in the business, and every company sits around and says, well, our CEO is better than their CEO, so we'll pay him more money. So it's just ratcheted upward and upward and upward, and there's no natural check on it. If a company sits down with a labor union to negotiate wages, both sides care, and they stay up till 2 in the morning often, and they have impasses that last for weeks. Tell me the last time you've heard about an impasse happening, where bargaining had to be suspended for a week or a month, with cooling off periods, all of that between the CEO and his comp committee. So it's just a different sort of thing. There's an inequality of intensity in the bargaining process.
Even the protesters outside today admit that you are an ethical man. Does it bother you, does it pain you that they say that a divestment in Berkshire Hathaway's investment in PetroChina could make a difference, put more pressure on the Sudanese government?
It doesn't bother me at all. As a matter of fact, we put that on the ballot, even though the SEC said we didn't have to, just so we could have a full discussion of it. If my ideas won't stand in front of thousands of people listening to them compared to their ideas, I deserve to lose. So I'm delighted at the chance to explain exactly why we think that there is a zero connection between our investment in PetroChina and what is happening in the Sudan. But we'll have a full discome of that during the meeting.
Looking forward to one last question.
Sure.
Up to 28,000 people expected here today. How many of them are looking for your job?
Well, I'm afraid I don't want to ask. I mean, there are some out there that are looking for my job, and
how's the search
I just
going?
hope they don't get it too soon.
How's the search going?
The search will will pick up speed after this meeting.
Are you the Simon Cowell or the Paul Abdul or the Randy Jackson?
People think I'm a little more like Simon, I think. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Berkshire Hathaway's annual meeting, long known as a Woodstock for capitalists, drew nearly 30,000 shareholders whose wealth owes much to the Oracle of Omaha. A $1,000 investment in Berkshire back in 1965 when Buffett first took over the company is now worth more than $7 million. Berkshire Hathaway doesn't make anything, but it does own more than 70 companies that sell everything from cowboy boots and motorhomes to ice cream and auto insurance. And all those brands in Warren Buffett's portfolio are not only on display at the annual meeting, they're for sale, transforming Berkshire shareholders into Berkshire consumers.
It's kind of like you recirculate the money into your own pocket through your shares.
But this year, even a man universally acclaimed for his stock picking and his ethics is under fire. Some shareholders want Buffett to divest shares in a Chinese oil company whose parent does business with the government of Sudan.
There is a zero connection between our investment in PetroChina and what is happening in the Sudan.
The 76-year-old Buffett, who last year pledged the bulk of his $44 billion fortune to charity, recently said he was looking for a new chief investment officer to replace him. And there has been no shortage of candidates.
If you ask me to sweep the floors, I'd be happy to do that. If you ask me to, take the trash out, I'd be happy to do that.
Buffett, ever the populist, said the search is going to be modeled after American Idol. Are you the Simon Cowell or the Paul Abdul or the Randy Jackson?
People think I'm a little more like Simon, I think.
And when he picks Berkshire's next idol, Buffett can look forward to spending a little more downtime.
Oh, this is wonderful.
Susan Lesovich, CNN, Omaha, Nebraska.